This is about a new master's program that will launch in September this year. And before I share with you the structure of the program, and I think that way I will be able to answer some of the questions you might have in the Q&A that will take place at the end in about 20, 30 minutes. So before we launch with the Q&A session, I just wanted to, and the details of the program, I just wanted to explain why. So why we started um, this adventure into developing this particular master's program, and why are we combining climate change, sustainable business, and green finance. Now, all three of these are interconnected. Now, climate change, we all know what that is, and we all been one way or the other affected by it. And it's something that is going to stay with us for quite some time. If you look at the most recent projections by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is a United Nations panel of experts, then they predict in the most benign scenario that the temperature and global warming will keep increasing up until 2040 and then stabilize for the remaining part of the century. And that, as I said, in the most benign scenarios. In the worst case scenario, then we're going to see global warming becoming more severe and bringing, of course, with it extreme weather events that become more likely and affect and disrupt the economy and people's lives around the world. So climate change is pretty central, a central part of our lives, and is going to be with us for some time and probably exacerbate the problems that we are already seeing around us. Now, sustainability and climate change are very much interrelated, especially when we look at one of the two pillars that we are using to address climate change. One is mitigation, the other one is adaptation. So mitigation is basically reducing the causes of climate change, and I'll get to that in a minute. And adaptation is about living with it and try to thrive as a race and in all our endeavors. And what is the role of green finance then in all of this? Now, it's pretty critical. And I'll show you this with a slide that I think is pretty much self-explanatory. So let's go into it with a little bit of data, just have a couple of graphs to start with. Now, I think most of you are familiar with this graph or similar ones that you have seen that basically show that what we've been experiencing in the last, specifically in the last 20 years, but since the Industrial Revolution, is a phenomenon that is not caused by nature, but it's something that is the result of human activity. And there was a little bit of controversy 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, where some scientists were not really agreeing on the fact that global warming was the result of human activity, but it's now pretty much settled. When I say pretty much settled, of course, I'm talking about the majority of scientists and climate scientists, environmentalists, and so on, that look at these issues quite closely. Of course, there are still people that disagree, and that's totally fine. But it's pretty much established, and that we've been causing what we are witnessing today. Now, this is both good news and bad news. It's bad news in an obvious way, but it's good news because, if we are the factor behind this, perhaps we can do something about it. And that's what was one of the main reasons why we started thinking about this program. So what can we do? What can Henley Business School, the ICMA Center, and the University of Reading do to address this? And there is a lot of research that goes on at the university. We have a top-ranked meteorology department that focuses on climate change specifically and has been informing the discussions that's taken place in the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, which you see cited here. Um, but in addition to that, it's not enough just to do research. I think what we can do as a university is to train, is to form professionals that can actually address these issues, that can help us get out of this trouble that we put ourselves into. So this next picture basically shows what the constraints are uh, uh, in order to implement human adaptation, one of the two pillars I talked about before. In different regions, you see Africa, Asia, North America, and so on. And the red spots are the areas that represent the strongest constraint to human adaptation. And you see that the dollar symbol is, in most areas, is one of the most severe constraints, and that's finance. So finance is really critical in order to provide the means for adaptation, to implement adaptation strategies, as well as mitigation. But in here, we'll look at adaptation specifically. And when we talk about finance, it's not just private, of course, is also government finance. And the two go hand in hand. Particularly, government finance is essential when the risks are very high. The risks of new innovations that have a little probability of success, but if successful, could have a very large impact. So in that case, it's very difficult to attract private capital because of the very, very high risks. And so the public sector has a very strong role that can play in order to bring about the changes that we need to tackle climate change. The other motivation is, one of the reasons that pushed us in the direction of developing a new degree in this area is that really there is shortage of expertise in the industry at the moment. This is a recent Financial Times article that appeared a month ago, and it basically highlights very clearly that the supply of skilled labor in the climate change type of area is very much in is below demand. So the demand is higher than supply. And in order to address that, of course, we need very quickly to equip a new generation of professionals with the skills that they need to face climate change, to work towards adaptation and mitigation. Now, the shortage that we see in the industry is the shortage of skills is very likely to remain for quite some time for a couple of reasons. One is that there are not many people out there that have the necessary skills, and demand is going to grow in the future. And two is that, as we said at the beginning, things are not going to get better. They're going to get worse before they get better. And so the need for that kind of expertise is going to go up. So just a summary regarding this degree, you can find all the details, most of the details I'm sharing with you today on the web page that has been dedicated to this program. And there is a link there to the web page title. And I can share the slides with you after the presentation or via SEMI so that you can access all the material. Not everything I'm talking about today is on the web page because there are still some parts of the degree that are under development, and I will highlight those. But we should be able to finalize everything pretty soon. So most of the elements, all the compulsory modules, for example, are already in place. There is one optional module that we still need to finalize, and some other bits and pieces. So the duration of the program is 12 months full-time. Is it going to be based on the main campus in Reading? And we have two co-directors. I'm one of them, and Lisa Schoppel is the other. And you're very welcome to contact either myself or Lisa. You find my contact details at the top of the page of this presentation. So we have already discussed some of this, so I'm gonna skip it and just going to concentrate on one of the key questions that I think most of you will be interested in, which is why should you choose this particular program? Now, I have highlighted there a few points that I think are the most important ones. The one is expertise. So this program has been put together by the triple accredited Henley Business School and at the top ranked meteorology department that I mentioned earlier that is very much active in the climate change area. In fact, with the uh, 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 with the move on campus of the European Center for Mid-Range Weather Forecast that at the moment sits slightly outside campus, then we will have in White Nights the largest cluster of climate scientists in the world. And this is going to happen very soon. So there is a high concentration of, as I said, research capacity, but also expertise that we will be able to share with the students of this program. In terms of industry training, the students of this program will benefit from free access to an industry-led course by the International Capital Market Association Group, which is also sponsoring the finance department of Henley Business School, which is called the ICMA Center. And now this particular training is all online, and it's an introduction to green, social, and sustainability bonds. The third reason why you should join this program is the opportunity to study abroad. And at the moment, we have one module, but we are planning to have another one that will be delivered at our partner institution in Venice, which is Ca' Foscari University. We have work placements also in the summer, so students are supported so that they can find a placement for up to 3 months in an area that is related to this degree. And the work in progress, which is the last point, and which you're not going to see on the website yet, but we're going to sign a MOU very soon, is about the partnership agreement with the Global Association of Risk Professionals that have moved recently into the climate change and sustainability area. And so they have seen our programs, they like it a lot. And so we are becoming one of their partnership programs and have a collaboration. There is a long-standing collaboration, in fact, because we have also another degree at the ICMA Center, which is called the Financial Risk Management degree, which is also accredited by GARP. Other reasons why you should join this program are fantastic career services, which all the students can benefit from not only during their studies, and I would say also before they start. So their, applicants are very welcome to contact our career advisors even before they join. But after the program for 4 years, they will be supported by our career services. And so I think this is a big plus and a very useful service to have. There are alumni events that are organized around the world, and they represent fantastic networking opportunities for our current and former students. In terms of job opportunities, I've already highlighted that there is quite a lot of demand in the market. The demand comes from large corporations like the ones I've listed down here in the last bullet point, but also a lot of startups. And in fact, I think that space is quite exciting. A lot of the students very often they want to go to the big names, and they don't. I think they realize that there is a lot of competition in there, which is totally fine. But perhaps they don't realize that there are great and exciting opportunities with smaller companies, smaller outfits that have much greater growth prospects and career progression opportunities than perhaps large institutions. The roles that we see advertised out there are the ones that you see on the top bullet point: junior consultant for carbon research analyst in ESG, sustainable development officer, ESG risk advisor, and so on. So it's plenty of activities, plenty of opportunities. And this is at all levels. So entry level, so students that just graduated, as well as more senior staff. So who is this program for? Really, the program is open to new graduates from any discipline. So we don't require any specific background, a science background or a finance background. But also those that have just completed their undergraduate degree in any discipline. And I will explain to you how we look after those that perhaps have left academia for some time. And I don't know, Simi, whether you can perhaps mute some of the participants, as we keep receiving some noise in the background. So as I was saying, it's open to everybody, and we have ways in which we cater for the needs of those of you who may have left academia for some time, or that perhaps don't feel particularly confident about finance or about maths and stats or about the science behind climate change. So we offer pre-entry modules that are open to all offer holders, and those are across the various disciplines that I mentioned, and I'll be more specific in a second. What makes our program unique is, as I said, the blend of competencies that span climate change, sustainability, and green finance, and the fact that you will find teachers that are not only experts in the area from the teaching side, but also very much active on research in the area of climate change, sustainable business, and green finance. Now, why is now the right time? Well, last year, towards the end of the year, we had the 27th United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP27, as it is known. And in there, it was pretty clear that little progress has been made to tackle climate change. So there is a need for more, in fact, much more. And this is what we plan to enable the students of this degree to do when they hit the job market and when they start their careers, or when they continue their careers. In terms of the course structure, as I said, we have some pre-entry courses. So these ones can be accessed by applicants. The first three are already available: Study Skills for Success, a coding degree where you learn a little bit of Python, which is so common now, not only in the finance industry, but across different sectors. And Building Blocks of Finance. If you haven't done finance before, or if you are a little bit rusty in that area, then you'll be able to brush up on your skills and become and basically be more confident when you start the degree. The building block of Maths and Stats for Finance is still under development and should become available sometime during the summer. So we hope for June, July, but we cannot commit to a specific date at the moment. We really hope during the summer. There is already, though, a Future Learn. All these modules can be accessed via Future Learn, which is an online platform. And the last one I wanted to highlight, and it will be advertised on the website pretty soon. We're just discussing this with the developers. I was personally discussing this with the developers the other week, last week. And this is about climate change and biodiversity crisis, and it gives us a nice introduction to some of the main topics that will be discussed in more depth during the degree. The diet is the program structure starting from September. So we have part one, which is the autumn term. And in that term, we have compulsory modules that are listed there. One is the science of climate change, which is delivered by our meteorology department. And then another module, which is climate change, sustainable business and finance, that is more bringing together the various aspects that you see in the title of the degree as an introduction for everybody. Econometric analysis for finance is a quantitative module that will enable you to develop econometric skills that are very much useful when it comes to dealing with data sets and do statistical analysis of data sets. And those can be, economic data, finance data, climate data. And then we have a module that introduces you to securities and investments that, of course, is designed for you to close the gap of this dollar sign that you saw in one of the first slides. The fact that we have some finance being one of the main constraints that is slowing our progress in the fight against climate change. There are some seminars that are open, that are organized by the meteorology department, that are open to our students, and this will be delivered across part 1, 2, and 3, which is autumn, spring, and summer terms. Part 2 is spring, and then you will have compulsory modules that look at risk management and climate change, sustainable investments, and then these very topical markets, energy, carbon, and commodities. And then some optional modules to choose from. So you'll have 20 credits to choose from one of these 3 modules. Finally, in the summer, you have a selection of, these are all optionals, so there are no compulsory modules in there. As I mentioned, there is a work placement project that is a possibility, but also study abroad opportunities. And the last one, which is not on the website, but we've been discussing with Venice, is sustainability in the business world. And if you're interested in the details, although, again, it's not been signed off yet, I can provide a preliminary MDF, which is a module description file for you. Terms dates. So we have the first part of the degree will be covered between the end of September and the first half of December, which is called the autumn term. This will be followed by exams in January for all the autumn term modules. And then we have the spring term, which is kind of wintry still, because it goes from January to the end of March, beginning of April. And there will be more teaching in there, followed by exams in May and June, and finally the summer term between June and August. And then there will be another round of examinations towards the end of August, beginning of September. These are the fees that you can find on the website, as well as likely or estimated living expenses. In terms of scholarships, we have 3 types. The first 2 are for those who are not alumni of Henley Business School or the University of Reading. So the first one is called ICMA Central Ambassador Scholarships, and they range between £2,000 and £8,000. And in order to apply for those, you will need to provide a video where you answer a preset questions that we will provide. And I think, yeah, we've listed some of them here. And based on that, typically we can provide an answer to your application within 1 week, 10 days. And the second one works in a similar way to the first one in terms of the application process. But this time, this is for women, and it's a Women in Finance Scholarship. Is the same range in terms of amount. And for these applicants, we are looking for those that are particularly interested in EDI, which is equity, diversity, and inclusion, and students that want to be active during their studies in that particular area to promote EDI within the business school. The last is for alumni, and it's £3,000. It's a discount that is given automatically to all those that studied at the university already before. These are the entry requirements. It's a 2-1 equivalent, and we require a little bit of knowledge on maths and stats. If that knowledge is not there, then we might apply a GMAT or GRE condition to your application, and the condition will apply to the quantitative element of the GMAT or GRE. And then we also have English requirements. So we'll stop here and I'll open up for questions. These are the stripes that were put together by a professor at the University of Reading. Now they've been adopted by by the corporate world, by the government, by the BBC, and this is just a way to advertise that we're going towards hotter climate. Anyway, thank you.